Good day, C3 parents, and welcome back. I'm your parenting coach, Karien. Today we are doing Parenting Coach Reacts to our Reddit, our Ask Parents. Let's just roll the intro. We're going to dive right into today's conversation. This is about blended families, but this can also help parents who introduces new baby into the house, the adjustment. But let's dive into the question that was asked on Reddit's r/askparents. How do I get to the bottom of an issue between our two sons? Me and my fiance have two sons. One is 15, the other one is 12. According to the youngest son, the oldest son is bullying him, standing indoors, refusing to let him through, pushing, threatening, standard bully. He says there is an issue almost every day. However, when we confronted the oldest about these claims, he denies he does any of this. And if we try to punish him on the few occasions we've caught him doing anything along those lines, he screams the house down about how we are unfair and controlling. The punishment we tried to implement was a week grounded with no phone. Another issue we ran into was when we questioned the older son privately, and he said all the claims were made up. The reason this is an issue is because we have caught the younger out telling us there's an issue to get either his older brother or his older sister into trouble for the sake of it. So we also suspect he could be telling us this frequently in any attempt to get his brother in trouble for the sake of it. Quite frankly, me and my fiance are stumped and we don't know how to proceed in tackling this issue. Quite a difficult one to discuss, isn't it? The moment we have blended families and the moment we even just add siblings to the whole family dynamic, there is not just a potential, almost a guarantee that there will be rivalry, there will be posturing from the kids' side. Why does this happen? Before we even get to the posturing, we're going to look at what really is happening when we either add a sibling or when a family gets blended. We need to look at it from our children's perspective. The most important thing that we can even wrap our heads around regarding our children and meshing everything together is just like we as adults have certain routines and certain habits and certain comfort zones. We are uprooting kids and removing their comfort zone by either blending the new family or by adding a new sibling. This means the family dynamic shifts. And with a shift and a change comes a period of adjustment, a period of figuring out how do I fit into this new pattern of the family. So what happens with older siblings? Now you've got a family on the one side that from the sounds of it have one child and from the other side two children. So what happens when we mesh them together? The pecking order changes. A single child, a child that has been on their own for most of their life, now all of a sudden not just have to deal with someone in their space, but not just the fiance, but two additional kids in their space. Means sharing certain things like the television, having less access in a certain sense, or for them a feeling of having less access to their parent, having to share their parent and the love that goes around. And it's difficult, it is not easy, and they can feel left behind, they can feel left out. And no matter how much they love the new siblings or enjoy having siblings, and how much they like the new partner that moves into the family dynamic, it still affects them. It still has an impact on how things used to be. The priority, where they were on the priority list for their parent, how close they and their parent have been. That all changes. Then if you go look at sibling dynamics, whether we try to implement that in a household or not, when you have more than one child, there's a certain pecking order that takes place. First, second, third, fourth, no matter how many kids you have, there's a little pecking order, because the older they are, the more freedoms they've got, the younger they are, the more support they need. And in between all of that, from going to an only child where, you know, I'm kind of the I want to say the king of the roost, to not being, maybe being the oldest child, or from a single child to being the oldest child, and all of a sudden having that backlog or idea in the back of their head that they might now have additional responsibilities towards the younger siblings, which happens. We don't intend to place our older children into a position where they've got a certain responsibility towards their younger siblings, but that happens unintentionally majority of the time. So there's a dynamic shift, there's a dynamic change. So the older brother is being punished for maybe measuring out or meeting out a little bit of territory, a little bit of I'm the oldest, a little bit of you. I had like there's certain things that, like, I'm the authority kind of position, where the youngest may be feeling, well, I've lost out on certain things of my autonomy, certain things of my freedom, and I also need to matter. And in between all the chaos, I don't feel like I don't matter. So what do? I pick on them so that I can matter, so that I can be important again, and so that I can get on par, because I don't like being at the bottom of this totem pole or in this pecking order. I don't like this. So there's this struggle between, from the youngest side, and a little bit of push from the oldest side, to try and figure out the family dynamic of where they fit into this. And Shan, the poor daughter, which I assume is the middle one, is all of a sudden a middle child. And like, they usually, middle kids seem like they cruise through, but please check in on them. But how do we address this? How do we take our older kids when we have to blend a family? How do we start the process and make it as easy as possible for our kids to get through this process? And remember, regardless of how much the kids wants this blending of a family and really looks forward to the whole idea, it's still a period of adjustment for everybody involved. So obviously, because the pecking order changes, there's certain things that they experience as a loss. There's certain freedoms that they experience as a loss. There's certain values that gets added to, or not, like positives that gets added to their life by getting new siblings. But you need to actually put it down on the table and have an open-hearted conversation. I would start personally, have a one-on-one conversation with every one of the kids, and not as a like you're on the red carpet, you're in trouble kind of conversation, but a conversation sitting down and say, hey, you know what, we're blending these two families. It has been tough on everybody. What has been the toughest? What have been the best? What is the things that you would like us to know and think about and manage within the family? When you have that from each child, you can actually have a family conversation where you sit around the table, not to put anybody in a spot, but say, hey guys, you know what, we've had these conversations one-on-one with you all, and there's a couple of things that we need to bring into the house rules and how to manage certain things. One of the first things that we need to help you with is, we as parents need to help coach you on how to resolve conflict among yourselves. Reason being is, we are not a third party into your relationship. We would like you to have an authentic relationship with each other. Currently, I don't, whether they like each other, love each other, or just tolerate each other, they have to live together. So let's find a way that we can live together with as minimum as conflict as possible. When you have an issue with each other, we would like to have a negotiation. Mom or dad or either of the adults can sit in the beginning to help with the negotiation, but your job is not to pick a side. Your job is to help them find a reasonable way to listen to each other when the emotions gets very heightened, to help them to take a break and then come back to the table to renegotiate and teach them conflict resolution, because that's what actually is currently the need for all family members involved, is conflict resolution. But not you as the parent resolving the conflict for them, meting out punishments or things like that, but being the coach and being the support for the children involved, so that they can actually talk things through, that they can find a way to live together. And while they are going through that, and then you have the pro and con list, the good and bad list of your kids, pay attention to what they've said that has been the struggles of their adjustment. The child that has been the only child might actually admit, like, listen, it's difficult for me to share my space with other people. It feels like my voice has been made smaller. So create opportunities for them to speak out, create opportunities for them to be active, create opportunities for them to spend time with their biological parent. Create space for one-on-one sessions with all the kids. Create space for bonding as a family, like board games or card games, or if you are a family inclined to that, or if you're a family that's into doing activities, then go out to activities. But don't expect of the children to get along all the time. One of the biggest mistakes we make when we have more than one kids is we get involved in the thick of it, in their rivalries, in their fights, and then we start meting our justice instead of allowing them to rub against each other and like just figure out how they solve their relationship, how they resolve the strains on the relationship. Sure, you might have to step in every now and again if they start getting to a degree where someone can get hurt. Obviously, then you need to step in. There might also be an expectation of the children that their biological parent will protect them and choose their side over the other children's side. And you need to make it clear that yes, your child will remain your child, will remain your child. These other children that gets added, they are important too, and you love them too, but they will never replace your child, because that can also, even at the age of 16, be a significant fear. Oh, well, at the age of 25, a significant fear for a child, that they might feel that they will get replaced by new family members or the new family dynamic. You as a parent have the job to keep comforting them and reminding them that they are still as important to you as what they were before the blending happened. They are still a priority to you. And that is incredibly important. Another thing for blended families and parents, when it comes to disciplining children, especially in the beginning when you're still trying to figure things out, the biological parent disciplines the biological child or children. The added adult gets to support the biological parent. But when the person says, this is where the goat stops, where everything stops, that is the biological parent, especially in the beginning. Over time, as the blending reaches a point where you function as a whole family unit, like almost like a typical family unit, you can barely see the stitches of the blending, then the new adult or the new parent may discipline as well. But if you have house rules that you had in a family meeting that you've put down, that all the kids know, everybody knows, then it makes it easy for the added adult to turn and say, hey, this is the house rules, come on, we need to stick with this is what we said we're going to do. Because then it's not arbitrary, it is not thumbsucked, and it also lessens the opportunities for a child to react like, oh, you're not my dad, or you're not my mom, or you're not my real dad, you're not my real mom, that kind of reaction. And I say it in such a goofy voice because it sounds goofy to us, and it's really hurtful, especially if we really love these kids as if they're our own, as if they're biologically connected to us. But when they lash out like that, it means that they have been feeling rudderless, and we need to have a conversation about that lashing out then. But having set rules, having conversations, teaching children conflict resolution, and understanding that the pecking order has changed will change how you approach a dilemma like this. The youngest is craving attention. He is trying to find his space in this. He is not comfortable being the youngest because all of a sudden things have changed. The oldest is uncomfortable and trying to, like, I'm still the oldest. And remember, there's a certain sense of autonomy that single children have in comparison to children that have siblings. And the oldest and your single children, single individual child, single children, I'm going to keep on saying single children. What happens is they've got almost the same sense of autonomy, but now you've got an age difference as well. So take that into account, that there's a lot of freedoms that one kid had that they might feel like they're losing, and there's a mindset of, but I am the oldest and therefore I get to do certain things that comes into play in a dynamic like this. So I hope this helped resolve the issue, and I hope this helped future blended families. Please stay safe. Guys, please do the YouTubey things and all the things like the like and subscribe. Remember, we've got coaching calls in with our parenting coach Patreon. Oh guys, my mind is leaving me. With our Patreon. So come join the Patreon community. We can do coaching calls, you get some videos, some podcasts, and we actually talk about a little bit more sensitive topics there as well. And stay safe and come join the community. I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.